So I live in a dark basement apartment in Parasite. They call it a semi-basement, but in San Francisco we call it an in-law. I think it's because the idea is that if your mother-in-law moved in with you, you would build an awkward apartment in the back of your garage and you would force her to live in there. But housing prices being what they are in San Francisco, most people rent out their in-laws. So I live in an in-law. I've lived in it for about a year. And when I started living here, I thought that it would be totally fine that it was underground and dark. Like, I feel like every time I've ever been moving and looking for a room on Craigslist, like all these rooms would be like, oh, this is like a really sunny room. And I would be like, why would you advertise a room that way? Like, why would you want the sun shining on you? Like, my old room was super sunny, and like, one time I got a bag of chocolate and I accidentally left it in front of the window, and it was so sunny that all the chocolate melted. Like, I don't want to deal with that situation, and I don't want things in my room to be like hot or warm, and I don't want my room to be bright. I'm not interested in that type of thing. I like for things to be cold and dark. So I always thought maybe someday I'll live in an in-law and it'll be great. However, I think I really underestimated the fact that, like, even I, as somebody who doesn't like sun very much, like, apparently need the sun to be shining in order to, like, wake up, or at least to feel normal waking up. Like, I've always had, or at least for a long time, I've had a lot of trouble sleeping and a lot of trouble waking up because I have problems with fatigue and stuff. And, like, I didn't realize how much worse it could get, but it's just there's this thing where when you're asleep and you like aren't feeling sunlight on your eyes, like you don't wake up like at all. And even like you could sleep for like 12 hours and it could be like 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and like, at least for me, it's just been like amazing how hard it's become to wake up. Like, I try to wake up, but like it's dark and it just doesn't feel like daytime, and I feel like just as tired as if it was the middle of the night. And so even if I like, turn on lights, I've like, I went through a period when I was like using an outlet timer to like turn on a really bright light. Like, my brain still subconsciously knew that it wasn't sunlight, so I was like, nope, it's still the middle of the night. So I was just getting into this situation where I was like getting up later than I've ever gotten up in my life. I was like rushing to work and I was super late, and like I couldn't get myself to get up any earlier, and then like throughout the day I would be like as exhausted as if I hadn't slept at all, because according to my body I had just woken up in the middle of the night even though it was actually 11. So I tried a lot of solutions to this. I really, one thing that I did not want to do was get a sunrise alarm clock, because, I don't know, I guess just like because of how I am, the truth is that like sometimes I still do want to sleep in a lot. So I didn't want a light that like turns on like when I'm supposed to get up and I actually have to get up. And if I don't want to get up, I have to turn it off. Like, for me, the ideal light would be like a sun lamp that like turns on and produces fake sunlight, basically like when sunlight would normally shine into a normal room, and like continues to just shine throughout the day, so that even if I am sleeping in, like, I don't know, there's like a difference between sleeping in a dark room and feeling like it's nighttime, and like sleeping in bed and like having sun shining on you and like sort of being aware that you're sleeping in. Like, I don't know if I really made such a distinction before, but like it literally like feels physically different to me. So, yeah. So basically, I didn't want to get the sun lamp, so I tried lots of other things like the outlet timer light, which I think for me, maybe I should have just done it differently, but like as it was, I had this like really bright light like shining on my face, so it really wasn't working. Like, it would just like turn on in this really unpleasant way, so I was like, okay, I actually hate this. Plus, like, I was using kind of an old school analog outlet timer, and it was very annoying because it was really hard to tell like what time the clock was actually set as. It was one of those like dial clocks, and then it was also really hard to tell like what time you had actually set the alarm for. Um, so Also, like, if I ever unplugged it or the power went out, I would have to reset the clock, which, like, isn't a huge deal. It's just that it was so hard to set the time anyway. Plus, like, if you're like me, you always go to a point where, like, when you're half asleep, you can kind of, like, reach out and, like, fuss with stuff. So, I don't know, after spending so many nights, like, waking up in the middle of the night, being like, oh, I think I'm actually going to sleep all day tomorrow, and just sort of, like, sleepily reaching out and, like, pressing all the buttons on the outlet timer so that, like, the light didn't actually turn on. It just wasn't working at all. Then one day I put the bright light and the outlet timer away, and I woke up in the morning and it was just dark, and I was like, this is quite a relief. Maybe I'll be able to deal with my room being dark. But I wasn't. Things were just as bad as they ever were. I thought that like using mirrors would improve the situation. Like, well, you can't see anything now, but I do have like a small window, but it doesn't allow in a lot of sunlight, and it's also very heavily overshadowed by my landlord's back deck. So, yeah, I think if it wasn't for the deck, I would probably get an acceptable amount of sunlight. But as it is, like, the room is very dimly lit, and it's almost worse than if it was completely dark because, like, I don't know, just like when I wake up, anytime that I wake up feels like it's just like the crack of dawn because that's how much light I get. You know, so I just subconsciously think, yeah, I get to go back to sleep for a few more hours. It's great. But it's just like that for the entire day. Anyway, so for a long time, I was like, I'm gonna figure out something really cool using mirrors to make there be more light in my room. I read all about light wells and stuff. I wasn't smart enough to figure out how to do it. You may be entertained to see like some of the stuff I've done with my stupid window. And just like, spoiler alert, none of this has had any positive effect. So I've always collected like compact mirrors from makeup because I figured they'd be useful someday. They're still not useful. So I would put them on the window like this. So cool. And I thought it would reflect some sunlight. I got some just kind of plastic wrap and I put it at the bottom of the windowsill thinking that it would reflect a little sunlight. Now, it may be possible that some of these things have reflected like a tiny amount of sunlight, but it's just not like enough. So then I started getting a lot of mirrors and like putting them on the walls and stuff, but it's just not enough. Like it's never like the original amount of sunlight just isn't enough to be reflected by the mirrors. Like, I do kind of like imagine if I could snap my fingers and have my entire, like, all of my walls be mirrors, would that improve things? Like, I'm curious, but I mean, I guess it's possible that I'm just not setting up the mirrors right, but there's so many of them, and it just like makes like basically no difference or just like a really really tiny difference to like making my room actually have sunlight in it. I got silver contact paper and I put some of it on the wall, and you can see like, you know, it's really reflecting my crystal salt lamp. And when I set it up one night, I thought, wow, it's reflecting my lamp so well, it's gonna really reflect sunlight in the morning. Nope, there just isn't enough sunlight. Nothing gets reflected. I suffer. So I finally was looking at the sunrise alarm clocks, but I didn't like them because of the whole thing where like I don't want the light to turn on like specifically to be an alarm clock and wake me up. I just want my room to look as if it's sunlit. So finally I got the baby sun frame, which is a thing that you're supposed to use to wake up your baby. So the name makes me feel a little bit stigmatized as an adult purchasing it for myself, but it's a little thing. I wish I wasn't doing this in the selfie camera, and I wish I didn't have so much junk. I was thinking about cleaning my room before I made this video, but it didn't happen. Anyway, that's it, and it's for a baby, but I, an adult, also have hacked it and realized that things that are for babies can also work for me, an adult. So now my room is lit with fake sunlight. There's this thing where it gives you these instructions that you're not supposed to have it on the like midday light all the time. Like it has okay, this is supposed to be early morning light, but to me it just doesn't really feel like morning light. It still looks like blue light. It looks like a computer screen to me. And then this is supposed to help you fall asleep, but I don't use this one. But this one to me just genuinely feels like sunlight, and I can set it to have like a sunrise. And so the light doesn't stay on, like the ideal for me would be if it just like permanently stayed on as soon as the sun rose and it just stayed on for the entire day. And it doesn't do that, but it does stay on for an hour after it rises, and it takes a half hour to rise, so like all in all you get 90 minutes. And then at that point, since I'm so good at doing things when I'm half asleep and I'm going back to sleep, I'll just sort of like sleepily like press the remote to like actually turn the light on and keep it on, because it's like it can either turn on by the sun rising or by you like manually turning it on with the remote. I feel like a lot of Amazon users complain about the fact that you can only adjust it using the remote, and that does seem kind of annoying, but it actually works well for me because I can adjust it from bed. I think I worried the most that like because I am not a baby and it is intended for parents to use, it would be like really difficult to use it for yourself because it's not set up for you to like adjust it yourself when you're using it to help yourself sleep, you know what I mean? Anyways, I've had a positive experience with Baby Sunframe. They also sell like a big Sunframe that's like $1,000 for adults. So this was like $70, so I plan to just continue buying the baby version of all products. Like these clothes were intended for a toddler. Yep. This cup, this was for a baby. No, wait. This is the cup I drink out of. I actually think this would be a good concept for like a movie. Like I feel like there are a lot of like skinny women, not that I would put myself in that category, but I feel like there are like a lot of women who are like, I'm so small, I wear kids clothes all the time, I like only use things that are for kids. And then it would just like get to the point of like being this vanity project where like you know, adults are trying to squeeze themselves into like a baby onesie, so they can be like, oh, I'm so cute, I wear a onesie. Sorry, I kind of went off the rails there. Anyway, I just wanted to make this video because, I don't know, I feel like whenever, like I went on Reddit a while ago and I searched like basement apartment, thinking I could find about like stuff that other people had done in apartments similar to mine, and like every single post that I found was like a creepy pasta that was like, in my basement apartment, there's a ghost. I hope I didn't just summon a ghost. But anyway, I thought I'd make this video because I thought that it might be interesting to people who have lived in a basement apartment, an in-law, or semi-basement in the past, or are thinking about doing it. Yeah, I would really recommend that you think about the sunlight aspect, even if you're like me and you like don't like sunlight, or you think that you don't, because I was really shocked by how badly it affected me. I think if maybe you like didn't have any sleep problems, maybe it wouldn't be an issue, but I think, you know, as you get older, everybody has some kind of sleep problem, so it might become an issue. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about the dark apartment and my feelings about it.